Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side, Journey Towards the Light. I'm your host, Paul James Caiden. And before we get into today's show, I just want to make a quick announcement that from here going forward, I'm going to be doing the weekly show, the weekly podcast that comes out on the weekend in the classic audio format. It's just a lot easier to do shows in this particular format because, I work from home, my wife works from home, our stepdaughter is here, our schedules are very busy, so it's hard to carve out time where there's low traffic, no traffic to be able to set up the camera and record. This is just so much easier. I could do it anytime, anywhere, and not have to worry about a lot of background noise or people walking through the area where I'm going to be recording. And this is one of the reasons I've been, doing a lot of the ghost box shows, because I'm out and away from the house and just waiting for things to be a little less busy and get things more in order here with how I want to do them with the show. So the weekly will be the audio format from here on out. But I'll still be doing the ghost box sessions, and for my adoring fans out there, you'll still get to see my wonderful mug on camera in those particular upcoming videos. So getting that out of the way, let's jump over into today's topic, which I want to talk to you guys about: my childhood vision of the end of days. Now, this is something I've been wanting to talk about on the show for a little while now, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it. And if you've listened to my show for any amount of time over the years, you know that I'm very interested in prophecy, particularly biblical prophecy when it talks about the end of times, what will be happening to the earth, how people will be acting. I find it fascinating. I find a lot of these things to be very accurate when you see the direction the world is going in. And I think it's a day and an age where we can't really sit back anymore and say, well, these things have always happened. People have always acted that way, because we have the so-called experts out there now who are saying things are happening to the earth and on the earth that we've never seen before. People, the way society is acting and interacting or not interacting with one another is something we've never really quite seen before, with the influence of technology and so many other different things. So the times, they are changing, and it definitely seems to be going in a very peculiar direction. And, one of the things that makes me so fascinated in the topic of prophecy is this particular childhood vision that I had. Because this vision is something that reoccurred in my life, probably starting between the ages of 6 and 8, 7 and 8. And at that time, I didn't have any religious training. I was only a kid. There weren't really any religious people around me talking about these things. My parents weren't religious. My grandparents at this time were talking to me and my brother about the concept of God, but nothing, deep and prophetic or theological. They were very simple people. So this particular vision, the way that it kind of unwound, were things that I didn't really have an idea that were actually written in the Bible, or things that would actually happen on the earth. But now here we are, we're seeing some of the things, or many of the things in that childhood vision start to come to fruition. And, this wasn't a big open cinematic vision like I'm sitting there watching a movie screen. No, this was a vision that happened in my inner vision, but I could see it very clearly. And it was always the same. I saw it a lot when I was younger, and it happened all the way up into my late teens or early 20s when it finally stopped happening. Now, I didn't see it as much where it would just pop up in my inner vision when I was in my, teens and early 20s, but it would still pop up. And I seen this vision enough. I just have it memorized. I can see it frame by frame, if you will, perfectly, because I saw it so much, like watching a TV show over and over and over, and you just know what's going to happen next. It's ingrained in your memory. So this particular vision, and let me know what you guys think. Comment in the comments below. Send me an email, nocturnalmagic. That's all one word, nocturnal, like a nocturnal animal, nocturnalmagic@gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts about this. I'd be interested to hear your take on this childhood vision. But it started out, the vision always started out like I was looking at a landscape, and I saw houses, I saw land, I saw a few trees, not many. And the ground, I really noticed, first and foremost, there wasn't any grass. At least not very much. If there was, it was little tiny patches of grass that was very dry. The rest of the ground was very dry and cracked. It looked like, when you see pictures on TV when there's a drought, it's really hot and the ground has those big cracks in it. It's like baked mud. The trees didn't really have any leaves. Those that did, the leaves were very withered. Many of the trees had no leaves at all, like the leaves had, died for some reason. And you could see in the vision rising up from the ground just those waves of heat, like when it's really, really hot, and you see the heat just rising up off the ground. And when I saw this in the vision, I had this inner knowing that this was a picture of what it was going to be like when this current world that we're living in, everything collapses. It's the end. It's done. And one of the things that's going to happen before everything collapses is that it's going to be very hot, extremely hot. And then that vision kind of pans, kind of to the right, and I see this little white house. It kind of has maybe a stucco finish. It's kind of a small house. And the windows are wide open in the front. The front door is open. The heat is just rising off the ground. You can see through the heat, the waves of heat, this little white house. And a man comes out of the front door of the house. And he's a young black man, maybe in his late 20s or early 30s. He's thin built but muscular. And he's wearing a black pair of shorts and a white shirt, a white button-down shirt, but it's not buttoned, it's just hanging. And the sleeves are rolled up to his elbows. And he walks out of the house and goes to the left where there's this plastic bucket, a big plastic bucket, the kind like when you go in a hardware store, it might have spackle or some kind of plaster or something in it. And, the bucket's turned upside down. And he walks over and he sits down on the bucket. And he kind of slumps and he just kind of has this, and he kind of wipes his brow. And I noticed that, he looks very tired and very drained from this extreme heat. And as I'm looking at this young man sitting on the bucket, I then get the impression, yeah, it's going to be really hot. And a lot of people are going to die because of this extreme heat. And they're going to die because they can't get any relief. A lot of the rivers and ponds have dried up, so there's not, water to go to. And the electricity is out. There's no electricity. So no one can even turn on a fan to try to get any kind of breeze or relief. Everyone's just trapped in this harsh, stagnant, brutal heat. And, this was interesting because when I was a kid, we were taught that, there was going to be another ice age. I remember as far back as 1982, 1983, being a teenager, 15, 16 years old, sitting around with, me and my brother sitting around with our friends talking about what it would be like when the next ice age comes, and when is it going to happen? What if it happened now? What would we do? So we were all under the impression, that it was going to get cold, not hot. There was going to be another ice age. But in this vision, it's showing that the world, it's going to be very hot before everything kind of collapses and comes to an end. And little did I know at that time, that in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it does talk about power being given to the sun to, scorch a certain percentage of the earth with a great heat in the last days. And unless those days were shortened, no one would survive. And then we have global temperatures that are rising. I mean, I don't know how many of you have paid attention that we've had record heat, record temperatures across the globe. Since highest temperatures since we've recorded temperatures here on planet Earth. And things, are definitely getting hotter, and I think they're going to get hotter still. I'm not looking forward to that. I don't know how soon that's going to happen, but it's something that I've been anticipating for a while now. It's going to get hotter, and that heat is going to last deeper into the year, where it might cut into autumn and even, parts of the winter months, unusually warm winters. So, number one, things, according to the vision, things are going to be extremely hot toward the end. And, with the power being out, we also know that when it's really hot and people run a lot of air conditioning units, they say this puts a drain on the grid and the electrical grid could go down. So again, that makes, frighteningly perfect sense when you think about that kind of heat wave across the nation, across the world. Going to be a lot of pressure on the electrical grids that need to be badly updated, and nobody is doing it or has done it in a long time now. So we're definitely going to be in trouble when and if that happens. So the second thing I notice is then that the vision kind of changes, and my attention is taken to the landscape of how dirty everything is. It almost looks like people have taken their trash cans and just emptied them in the streets. There's garbage everywhere. Everything looks dirty and dusty and grimy and garbage. And the impression I got at that point, that before things come to an end and the system as we know it collapses, everything's going to be very dirty. There's going to be a lot of dirt everywhere, a lot of pollution. And on top of that, as I see all the garbage in the street, I see how many houses there are. Houses on top of houses just next to one another, buildings and houses and houses and buildings. And I got the impression it's going to be very dirty, a lot of pollution. And man is just going to keep building and building and building. And where there were once forests, there's going to be buildings. Where there were once fields, there are going to be buildings until everything looks like an even more crowded, dirty New York City or Los Angeles or one of the big cities. That there are going to be so many places on the earth, most places on planet Earth are going to look like that. Overcrowded and dirty. And man is just going to keep building and building and tearing up the earth and building. And that is certainly another one we can, see happening. Pollution. Man has no regard for anything, forests, rainforests, fields, anywhere he can build something or cut down trees and sell the wood, sell the lumber. It's just all for profit, all for money, all for greed. And when I saw these things in the vision, I got the feeling that because man was doing this, spreading so much pollution on the earth and building and building and building and tearing everything up, this was going to affect the earth. And this might even be why it's so hot. But because of what man is doing, it's affecting the earth. And the impression I got as a child, I didn't have a big vocabulary. It's affecting the environment. But I remember my thought was more along the lines of because of what man is doing, it's hurting the world. It's making things wrong. But as I got older with the vision, I, come to realize that feeling, that kind of inner knowing is that, yeah, what man is doing is affecting the planet. It's affecting the environment. And probably most likely why the environment's getting so toxic. And then the next thing I saw in the vision were people standing around by many of the houses and buildings. And they looked very glossy-eyed, like they weren't paying attention to anything that was going on around them. They were just lost in their own thoughts, lost in their own whatever was going on in their minds. And the impression I got when I saw these people as a kid was that these people didn't care about anything. When that time comes, people aren't going to care about anything. All they're going to care about is building more buildings, making money, going to work, paying the bills, and being all wrapped up in whatever it is their plans were for their own selfish little lives. And I also got the feeling when I saw these people when I was a kid, something very important was missing. Something is wrong with these people. And that's why they're acting this way. They don't even seem to care what's going on around them with the heat and the pollution. Everything is so bad. They're just continuing to go on with whatever it is that they're doing, even if it's hurting the environment or the planet or other people. And as I got older, and see, it's difficult to explain, because when I saw this vision as a kid, I got feelings and impressions about what I was looking at. And some of those feelings and impressions, I tag little words onto them. It's going to be like, people are going to be like, people are going to act like. And as I got older and understood more, I could say, oh, now I understand that feeling more. What's happening? It's this, it's that, Oh, well, now I can compare this to like a biblical prophecy that I know about. But it's still hard to articulate in regular language. seeing the vision, feeling those feelings. It's like translating a book from one language to another. The words might not fit. It's difficult to find the words to explain what you're feeling, what impression you're getting as you're seeing this vision. So I know I'm not doing it the greatest justice, but I'm doing my best to articulate so people can understand what it is I'm feeling and how those things kind of expanded. Like, oh, now I understand better that I'm older. So with these people standing around glossy-eyed, glassy-eyed, not caring, wrapped up in their own little thing, as I got older, I came to understand that feeling I'm picking up on. All they care about is going to work and paying the bills and whatever they're doing. Oh, they're selfish and they're self-absorbed. They only care about themselves. Oh, they don't actually care about the environment. They're selfish. They're self-absorbed. They're going to keep polluting. They're going to keep building. They're going to keep doing whatever it is they're doing. They don't really care. They don't really care about other people. They don't really care about the planet. They don't really care about the environment. And that very important thing that was missing, there's something wrong, something important that's missing. I came to understand it was their connection to God. That God just became non-existent or just a byword in their lives. But they lost connection with God, and in doing that, they lost connection with everything else. Other people didn't care anymore. Just me, 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 me. Arrogant, selfish. And there you go in the Bible. It talks about in the last days, people will be violent. They will be arrogant. They will be lovers of money, not lovers of God. They'll not care about anyone or anything, etc., so forth. I'm paraphrasing. But there it is. I think it's in 2 Timothy. I want to say 2 Timothy chapter 2 or 3. I think that particular verse is. But their connection with God is gone. They're just all wrapped up in the things of this world. All wrapped up in what this world tells them is important. Money, stuff, greed, power. And you look how people are acting. And boy, oh boy, are we living in a glassy-eyed society right now. The people running the countries are glassy-eyed, arrogant, self-absorbed, doesn't give a damn about anyone or anything attitude. Everybody. Nobody cares. And we even see religious people just getting all wrapped up in the things of this world, whether it's politics or war or whatever. How sad was it and how cringeworthy was it to see over in Russia before they went over into Ukraine and that whole war started over there, seeing the religious leaders of the Russian Orthodox Church blessing the implements of war to go over and, start bombing neighborhoods and killing people and doing whatever, they think they're doing over there. All wrapped up in the things of this world where it even becomes part of our religion. So we can be religious, folks, but that doesn't mean we're connected to the divine spirit. We can be religious and very much connected to this world because our religion is intertwined with the things of this world. And when it falls, we will fall. When it falls, our religion will fall. Because we built our lives and our religion on the sand, as Jesus talked about, that shifts and moves. And when the winds blow and the storms come, that foundation will fall. This world we live in is the sand, and a lot of people have their house built on the sand. They don't have their house built on the rock, the firm foundation of God. And I've been telling my wife for a long time now, there's coming a time in this world when we're going to need to have the faith that God will sustain us, God will protect us, and even God will heal us. Not just me and my wife, but all of us, people. Because this world, this system is already collapsing. Financially, it's collapsing. Environmentally, it's collapsing. Politically, it's collapsing. Even the medical field is collapsing. How many people do you know that have been misdiagnosed, prescribed wrong medications, years to get a diagnosis for something so simple that's just draining the quality of life away from people, and it takes years and years to get a proper diagnosis? People getting operated on, and they're operating on the wrong part of the body or doing something wrong that actually ends up costing the person their life or a limb. I know a lot of cases like this, unfortunately. Not saying all doctors are bad or we should stay away from doctors, but we're seeing everything that man has built in this system is starting to fail. It's like a human body that's dying. One by one, the organs are shutting down. It's getting weaker and weaker. It's getting incoherent in places and in parts. This system that we've built is terminally ill, and eventually it's going to take its last breath. Now, luckily, there's, a new heavens and a new earth, a new spiritual age that's coming. But when this one crumbles, a lot of people are going to crumble with it because they're all involved in what's happening in the news, what's happening in politics, what's happening here, what's happening there. Religious people going out, committing gun violence, against people that they think are some kind of threat. It's a mess out there. My wife and I used to watch that show, The Walking Dead. The group of people are out there trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, and everywhere they go, there's thieves and marauders and people that are killing and stealing and taking other people's supplies, and even those who are hungry, and they're cannibals. Anybody they catch outside of their little group, they act like they're friendly, but then they kill them and they eat them like the zombies. And I've always told my wife when we would watch that show, I said, boy, I think if the system really collapsed, people would be that way, probably even worse. And I would add to that, people really will be that way, and even worse, even the religious people. Because the religion is all interconnected to this Babylonian system that we currently live in. And when it falls, they will fall with it. And I really feel that time is coming where we need that old-fashioned kind of faith in God to protect, to sustain, to heal, to shield us from some of these things. It's going to be like Noah on the ark. We're going to be on the ark of the rock of the foundation. And we're going to have a job to do to get other people on the ark. Hey, this isn't the way to be. Like that Bible verse says, come out of her, my people, touch not the unclean thing. Get out of Babylon. Get out of that Babylonian type system. So we're going to have a job to do. And some people will listen and some will not. But I think it's going to be very messy. I think it's going to be very uncomfortable. And these are things I just somehow believed and knew in my heart of hearts was going to happen because of that childhood vision. Things are going to get extremely hot. The grid is going to go down. Pollution everywhere, affecting the earth, affecting the environment. And nobody cares. We just keep tearing up the forest. We just keep building. We just keep doing things for profit and money. We don't care about the earth. We don't care about nature. We don't care about one another. And we don't care about God. Or we're self-delusional enough to think that God is blessing our destructive behavior. Because you have this ridiculous idea in some religious circles that God gave us dominion over the earth so we can do, pardon my French, what the hell ever we want with it. We can tear it up, we can ruin it, we can drill into it, we can burn down the forest, we can cut it all down. It's all there for us to prosper because we're God's chosen people. And he's going to renew it anyway in the end. Isn't that wonderful? I'm blessed now and blessed later. As Family Feud would say. Remember the big red X when the survey was wrong? That ain't the way it's going down, Jack. Sorry to tell you. And I think a lot of people better get some dominion over their own minds and start getting a little more love and compassion and morality and human decency. Because they're just helping to drive this planet, this system, headlong into, those horrible days ahead. So we need to have faith. We have to put our trust in God. Not that we don't go to doctors or interact with the system or, take care of our responsibilities. Of course we have to do those things, but we can't be so attached to this current system that it becomes almost an idol in our lives. And it even becomes, intertwined in our religion somehow. Like I talked about in shows past, there were so many people, and some that still do, worship these political figures like they're the second coming of Christ. And man, oh man, is that going to end in some serious disappointment in the end. But enough said about that. That's my vision. Those are my thoughts. I wanted to share it with all of you. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had a similar experience, particularly if, you've had a feeling of something like that or a vision of something like that before you even had any religious training or knowledge about prophecies, whether they be biblical or Native American, because I know there's some Native American prophecies that are spot on, pretty much saying the same thing as, identical as the biblical prophecies, which I find very intriguing as well. But let me know if you've had similar experiences or thoughts before you had any knowledge of, prophecy or religion or whatever your path might be. I'd be interested in hearing that. So, folks, I hope you got something out of this show this week. I appreciate you listening. And until next time, stay in love, stay in the light, and look, be good to other people. Be good to the planet. Be good to the environment. Walk in love. Put down the gadgets. Interact with life. Interact with your family. Interact with your neighbors. Be good to one another. Help one another. Walk in love and do the best you can. And don't put all your eggs in the basket of this world, or even the things that the religions of this world, the organizations that call themselves, the churches, because don't put all your eggs in that basket, because there's a lot of off-kilter doctrines there. And there's a lot of people that left those organizations and say, well, I'm an independent believer now. And they got some wacky things too. Don't put your eggs in anybody's basket. Put them in God's basket. And if you're walking in love and peace and compassion and goodness, and you have serenity in your heart, and the joy of the Lord is your strength, then you know you're on the right path. If you're walking in fear, condemnation, getting together with militias ready to, kill the bad guys when, the shit hits the fan, as some people say, then you're on the wrong path. Anything that's of violence and fear and greed and anger and all that garbage, that's got you on the wrong path. The right path will always be peaceable, peaceful, loving, kind, compassionate, joyous, tender, merciful, all the beautiful fruits of the Spirit. So walk in those things. So I appreciate you listening once again. Have a great day, and I will talk to you next time here on the Spirit Side. God bless everybody.